This is your girl, Sada Star, coming to you with another episode of A Day in the Life of the Alpha Woman, the official podcast of the Easy Breezy Life community. Before I jump into today's topic, if this is your first time joining us, the Easy Breezy Life is a community of strong-willed women who understand that it can be so challenging to manage faith, family, life, and pursue our goals. Well, here at the Easy Breezy Life, you're going to find a community of like-minded women who are just as fierce, focused, and fired up as you are. It's also important that I let you know that everything we share on this platform is for education and entertainment purposes only. Because we believe that the Easy Breezy Life is a group project, we want you to seek out professional help in every way, shape, or form that you might need it. We are going to take a brief break, and we'll be back with this week's episode.
Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show into all the apps people like to listen to? How do I make money for my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcast. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now, Anchor can match you with great sponsors who want to advertise on your podcast. That means you can get paid to podcast right away. In fact, that's what I'm doing right now by reading this ad. I love to use Anchor to reach my strong-willed alpha woman community and help them live healthy, abundant, and successful lives together. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
And we're back. This is the final episode of Season 5. Season 5 of A Day in the Life of the Alpha Woman podcast. And what I'm looking at is a community that started the summer that my son came home from the hospital, when I thought I didn't have strength, but felt very strongly that I needed to start something, has turned into a platform with 12 contributors, women reading and listening from over 42 countries, and that's conservative. Fantastic interviews and over 70 episodes of content. We have over 110 posts. We have a brand. We've done a conference. We got a planner. We got a mini journal. We got a community. We have a book club. Yo, if you told me when God said go, that 5 seasons later or 2 years later that this is where we would be, never with the impossibilities of the circumstance that was laying ahead of us. My son, at the time that I started the Easy Breezy Life, was on continuous oxygen and a vent 24/7 in my house. I hope you never in your life have to experience what that feels like. And I was still working full time, taking a graduate course, and decided to start this platform because I needed it for my healing, because I needed it for my deliverance, because I needed it for myself first. And now we have a place where women are helping women break through glass ceilings and level up and overcome life's greatest challenges. In this journey, I have met people, lost people, had to distance myself from people. But what I'm grateful for are those very people who God used as catalysts, who God used to propel me, who God used to nudge me, who God used to alarm me. Every single one of y'all even those of you who got on my nerves, I am grateful for, because you were part of God's process in my life. I don't know what's next for this brand and for all of us, y'all, but I know we're going to do something great. I know it's going to be fantastic. I know it's going to amplify women. I know it's going to continue to change lives. And I am just so grateful to be trusted with this project, to be trusted with this assignment, and for God thinking enough of me to think that I could love his women the way he does. Now, I don't know if I could ever love y'all the way that God does, but one thing that I would say is that he's been stretching me and stretching me and stretching me. And I can honestly say that I do love every woman I've encountered through the Easy Breezy life. So I hope that you will all continue to be part of this journey. I hope it's been a blessing to you. I hope you will be in communication with us. And I hope that you will leave us some reviews. Follow us on Instagram. Tell a friend about the brand. Thank you. Thank you for riding through the pain, through the tears, through the healing, through the joy, through the breakthrough. Just thank you, sis. I am grateful for you. And without further ado, we're going to get into our final guest for season 5, which is a woman named Andrea Bernard. And we talk about steaming it down here. Get ready.
Joining me today is Andrea Bernard, who is an educator, certified herbalist, vaginal steam practitioner, and wellness coach who is passionate about helping individuals realize and achieve their purpose potential. She is the owner of All Natural Reset, a company that promotes holistic wellness in mind, body, and spirit by offering a growing range of natural, toxin-free products, personalized herbal therapies that easily integrate into a self-care regimen. Andrea believes that our journey in wellness should fuel our body, engage our mind, and nurture our spirit. Therefore, her goal through All Natural Reset is to support you on your journey to wellness through awareness, education, coaching, and natural product solutions. Welcome, Andrea. How are you?
I am well. Thank you so much, Asada, for having me on. I just want to thank you for inviting me. I am doing well. How are you?
I am fantastic, and this interview is right on time because it's what I'm needing in my life. It is November after a 7-month stretch of dealing with the pandemic.
Yes.
Looking as though this spike is going to go back up. I think if there's any conversation that is so important right now for women, especially women who are entrepreneurs, women who are working full time, and women of color who are as our primary listening base, I think it's the conversation of wellness and burnout cycles and what we might be all experiencing at this point in 2020. It's been rough.
It definitely has been rough. I mean, just in terms of if you want to start from the beginning of just going into what we can say was kind of like the unknown, just things just shifting so quickly and not knowing what's going to happen and how we were going to maneuver. You know, we had to just automatically come up with ways to adapt. It was like a constant and consistent adaptation to the changes that are still taking place. We saw things go down, and then there seems to be a rise again taking place. And with that, we suffer in many ways, our mental health, our physical health, could be financial, job-wise. A lot of people either got laid off or lost their job during this time. But our health, when I talk about that, I think in terms of from head to toe. So all inclusive is an important factor that oftentimes gets neglected.
So true, so true. So I came across your brand, I believe, in Black owned in New Jersey. Are you a New Jersey-based brand?
I am a New Jersey branch brand. Yes, I am.
So talk to us about what you do. Why all natural? You know, I grew up with a mom who we didn't have health insurance, so everything she did was holistic and herb related. Talk to me about why your products being non-toxic and all natural is so key.
Okay, so why all natural, and even what I do. So I am a herbalist, and what a herbalist does really is to help bring things back into balance in terms of our bodies. So we look at every aspect of the body, of your overall health condition and symptoms, and seek to bring an alignment. The journey in terms of going into and using all natural products is that what a lot of us don't know and didn't know, for we were just not educated on it, or we just did what we were taught, is that a lot of the products that are out there contain chemicals or toxins that are harmful to our body, especially as women, that can disrupt our hormones. They're known to be hormone disruptors, but we don't know. We just know something smells good, or even I'll go as far as even some of our sanitary napkins. You know, I think about myself growing up, and when it was time, when your cycle came, mom, or whether it was grandmom or whoever the woman figure was in your life, just showed you what you needed to do. So they did what they knew at that time, and we've passed that down. But as we learn things, it's good to investigate and do better. I had a lot of issues as a young woman with my cycle. And I also stayed away from the doctor after being told something that I didn't think was right to be. So I had a heavy cycle, and I went to the GYN, and it just kind of threw off my trust in terms of doctors. Number one, I was given this: use it or lose it. That's what I was told. Use it or lose it.
Use or lose what?
I don't even want to go there. I don't know what you could possibly tell a person about their cycle. Use it or lose it. Wow.
Okay. In terms of what was going on with my body, and having, at that time I was having like a really heavy cycle. I have no problem saying I was not active or trying to be that way, but I was told use it or lose it. That didn't fix the problem at all. And so I didn't really know what was going on with my body. And I found that as I went to different practitioners, sometimes I had insurance, sometimes I didn't. So I also understand that aspect. I had a trust issue with GYNs and other doctors just off of that alone. But I always had this feeling that there's just something going on in my body, or something that's not hitting right. Something could be contributing to. I tried to eat healthier at some point in time, and that did a little bit, but it didn't do much. Anyway, later on, I learned about chemicals being in products. And from that pushed me to dig deeper, to come to an understanding that there were products out there that are indeed hormone disruptors that can cause or may cause women to have problems later on. If we look at like the number of hysterectomies, the cancers, things like that, in terms of women and the products that are used that have these chemicals. So I started looking for more natural. And coming up from the island and just having that background, I remember my grandparents using herbs, using teas, where we lived and the access that we had, everything was pretty much fresh or homegrown. And in that, I saw the longevity in their life. I saw the longevity and how their bodies were during that time period. And just, I realized I picked up some stuff. So that pushed me to go into this process of becoming a herbalist, looking more holistic, changing my eating, etc., and beginning to cultivate products and a brand around that.
Wow, that is so
Fantastic. And I think what you're saying is true. Like, I grew up in an environment where my dad was self-employed, first generation immigrant. And so the concept of health insurance for us was not something that he understood, and we didn't have it. So when we got sick, he paid cash. So my mom worked double time in making sure that we took herbs to balance us out. I remember she used herbs when I was diagnosed with epilepsy to kind of heal my neurological waves. And the doctor said that I would have seizures for the rest of my life, but I ended up not. Right. And so this stuff works because I'm a product of it. And in multiple times in my life where I've worked myself to the ground, I had to always go back. That's why today I got my green juice.
Okay.
Always go back to those strategies that my mom taught me about saying, like, the earth has all that you need. Make sure it's organic. Make sure it's coming from a good source. So let's go into what you're doing, because what I was most interested about was the vaginal steaming. What is that all about?
Okay. So vaginal steaming, you might have heard it as yoni steaming or chayok. This is a process that has been around for centuries. It's popular in the islands, in the Asian culture. And what it is a way of cleansing the reproductive system for a woman. The process involves actually sitting over a pot of steaming herbs and allowing it to penetrate the vaginal canal. And so it helps with circulation, it helps to also tighten, and it helps to just overall heal. It can be utilized for just on a regular basis. It can also be utilized even if to help do any clearing, say maybe for infertility. It can be used in a menopausal state. It can be used even for someone who may have suffered trauma as a clearing. However, when I speak about it in terms of that, I add in there that definitely counseling is needed with that, and I will say that most people are safe to use V-steam or to vaginal steam. Okay, there are some women who would not want to go down that route, but again, when we look at that, we'd have to consider all the different factors, the varying factors in terms of this. So.
Wow, that's interesting. And so what are the different formulas? So let's say, I'll just use myself as an example. I'm someone who's gone through a lot of trauma, and I've also had a history of dealing with issues of infertility. Which product, how do you work with clients? You tell them just go on my website and shop, or do you say it's best to have a consult first? Let's talk about what your issues in history are, and then you make a recommendation? Because it seems like you're doing just like a whole total wellness brand here.
Mm-hmm. I suggest that you do a consult. If you do go on to schedule an appointment, there are questions that are asked. So there's an intake process so that I can gain information about what's going on with your body in terms of your cycle. And from that, I would determine what blend. I make custom blends for the individual. So depending on what is going on, then I'll pull the herbs together and blend them so that we would use that for that specific symptom or issue.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah. One of the things that I just want to say, even as we continue in this discussion, I want everyone to understand that I'm not a medical doctor. Right. So therefore, I don't diagnose, I don't cure, I don't do that. I tell everyone that they need to work with their primary physician and take advice from their physician. All I can do is offer suggestions, but I'm not promising you that I'm curing anything.
And that is so important, because we always share that on the Easy Breezy Life. We bring women from so many different walks of life. And I always like to give the disclaimer, everything we share is for education and entertainment purposes only. So I'm sure our Easy Breezy Life community knows how I feel that this is a group project. Get your doctor, get your lawyer, get your accountant, everybody that you need And listen to some of the things that the women are sharing on this platform, because they might help you. I think what we're learning, what we're seeing more and more with Western medicine, is the entertaining the idea that pills don't fix everything and that there is room. It's like seeing how they use acupuncture for women who have fertility issues. And they're becoming more open to it. But what would you say are some of the barriers that you've experienced with clients in providing non-traditional remedies sometimes?
So one of the biggest barrier is, as a herbalist, we would love to work with a practitioner, a physician, but many medical doctors are not necessarily open to the idea of finding this balance, that integrative health, finding the use of herbs. There's often the talk that there's not enough information. And the funny thing to me behind that is that herbs and the plants have been around and have been used for centuries. And there is information. And even as we go further now, we're doing more case studies to show that it is possible to have healing come about through the use of natural products, through the use of herbs, through the use of essential oils, through the use of teas, through the use of all of these alternatives in medicine. So that is probably one of the biggest barriers. The rest will then be education, just not knowing, and being open to that education. So that would be 2. The third would be consistency. The difference between integrative or alternative and traditional is that it's a lifestyle. So some of the processes, some of the remedies require a consistency and a change in your lifestyle in order for you to reap the benefits of it. I say you can't clean a vessel and then go back to putting toxic things in there and then switch back. You're basically confusing your body. You're confusing the vessel. And so that is an area that people struggle with, is the consistency. It's a process. I'm not saying that everything is just quick overnight, but the consistency, you got to keep at it. This is not your traditional medicine that's going to allay the symptom. The goal is to get to the root of what the problem is.
That is such a good point that you make. So I remember when I was working with my mom, there was a time frame when it came to the consistency required, right? So it was something like, and she used to focus a lot on cleansing our gut, saying like, a lot of these ailments start from the gut. And for every year of toxins, I think she would say expect 1 month of cleansing. So if you've been eating for 7 years, whatever you want, we're going to have to go on a cycle. And it was cycles. It was like, we got to strip it, then we got to rebuild, and you got to take some more out, you got to rebuild. And, I threw all those things away when I left my mother's home, of course. But, this is a Christian platform. So I would tell people, if you train up a child, here I am approaching my 40s and be like, hold up, what the mom? Because this other stuff is not working. It's not. I'm tired. I'm groggy. You're falling sick all the time. And I can't ever remember having a cold when I was living in my mother's house. So there's something to be said about looking at integrative medicine. And I think you're bringing up a good point. My mom still took us to doctors. We still went for checkups. Right. She didn't completely reject it. She said, okay, you said my daughter needs a seizure med. I'm going to give her a seizure med, and I'm going to go see someone else who can talk to her about how to heal her neurological system, because I know these are just going to treat the symptom and they're not going to give her the long-term benefits that she needs. So yeah, so important. And I'm a living testament to that.
See that when you were speaking about the cleansing piece, that made me recall just as a child with my grandparents, and then my parents, that every so often we had to take certain drinks or certain teas when we were out from school. There was a cleansing that took place. One of the things that I remember is that again, being from the island, being from Jamaica, on the weekends, we would have a nice breakfast where it came to my parents, and there's a meal that I love, ackee and saltfish. And the rule was you had to drink this tea, and you could not eat until the cleansing took place. So here's this food that I want to eat. But I had to go through that process, and those were teas. Those were things like cod liver oil, things like castor oil, and
all the things we don't talk about. It's just lost in American culture.
So my goal really is to bring some of that back and to educate, not just I say our women, because I guess I have a passion for women, and being a woman myself, and knowing some of the struggles that I've had, and our reproductive health. We birth things, we birth life. And so I think that's why I hone in on women, but it's really for everyone to take and to learn from. So again, I just want to bring this back and give people a outlet, an option, and the education, so that if you really want to begin to take these steps, it's a journey. It is definitely a journey. You're not going to get everything 100% right from the start, but the process in taking care of self-care, because that's what this really boils down to, is taking care of ourselves, self-care from head to toe, mind, body, and soul.
True. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that. So as we wrap up today, I have women who are listening in who might be skeptical. They don't understand. What encouragement or advice do you have for them to begin to understand that there might be other solutions to some of the long-term issues that they've been dealing with as women?
What I would say is, first and foremost, don't be afraid of not knowing. Don't be embarrassed to not know. It's okay. I think it's what you do with that. If you decide to stay in a place of not knowing, or begin to seek out understanding, I think of where it says, in all thy getting, get understanding. So if you can just reach out to someone, reach out to a herbalist, reach out to a yoni practitioner, reach out to even some health, like I said, some health providers are there, but begin seeking. Begin seeking. In seeking, the promises that you will find. In knocking, the promise is that the door will be open.
Yeah. So
don't be afraid, and don't be afraid. Know that it's a process, but begin.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I want to say something, because I know that we're a Christian community, and I think I have to say this for our listeners. A lot of times people think using herbs is contrary to the word of God and all of those things, but I am of the belief that the earth is of the Lord and the fullness thereof. And God has given so many solutions in our day-to-day lives for us to be able to solve our issues. And I'm living proof. My mom used them in my life over and over again for things that doctors said were permanent. and ended up not actually being permanent. Could we always be forthcoming? And again, this is just my story. We couldn't even always be forthcoming with doctors about what she was doing with me at home. But at the end, no one could deny the results. So I'm sharing this with you today, not as someone who's saying, here's a brain, go check it out. As someone who has lived through my mother having this knowledge, being a Christian woman, and using it in my life and the life of our siblings to heal medical ailments that traditional medicine said were permanent conditions. Okay, you have your own decisions to make. I'm going to leave it at that. We will share all of Andrea's links and ways you can get in contact with her in the bio. And remember, this is about you living a easy breezy total life, not prospering in one area and struggling in another. We want you well, to prosper as your soul prospers. Okay, so we will see you next week at a date in the life of the Alpha Woman. Thank you so much, Andrea.
Thank you so much for having me again, Asada. And again, everyone, they can reach out, they can text, they can call, they can email. I have no problem speaking with anyone and trying to help them out. And honestly, if there's something I don't know, I'm going to find out for you and refer you to someone who knows.
All right. You heard it. Don't say the answer never came. Okay. See y'all next week.